it's Ben. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about dreams, so stick around. I'll be right back with you.
Stay in the dark. We're not walking on streets of gold, and who's to say that these hearts aren't the best in this whole world? Outcast by a love that's bigger than our flesh and blood.
So dreams. We all have dreams. God has given us each dreams to do something, to produce something, to make something. Many times those dreams are things that God has given us passions about. But what happens a lot of times after we start to pursue them, things get hard. Maybe we forget about our dreams. We say, oh, that was just a childish dream. And so we don't have it anymore. I want to open the scriptures today and I want to look at a story of Joseph. Joseph had a dream. God gave him a dream, and it was a real physical dream, but that he had at night. But then what happened is it actually represented something that was really going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and open the Bible today to Genesis 38. So Joseph, he was kind of the spoiled brat of the family. He was not the youngest, but close to the youngest, and he was his father's favorite. I'm sure we all kind of know somebody who's in that boat. Maybe the parent's favorite, maybe he's the one that gets preferred, they can never do anything wrong. Maybe she's the one who seems that everything comes easy to life for her. So as we see in Genesis 38, starting in verse 18, when they saw him from a distance, so what had happened was the brothers were out working hard in the field while Joseph was home with his dad. And his dad sent him out to the field to kind of check on his brothers. Hey, let's see what's going on. Let's see if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so we start in verse 18. It says, when they saw him coming from a distance, and before he came close to them, they plotted against him to put him to death. See, it was really bad. They disliked him so much that they were actually willing to do the ultimate. They were willing to kill him for it. So when they plotted against him to put him to death, that was actually part of God's plan for Joseph. Many things happened to Joseph in his life that didn't seem like they were good things. This is the first one of those. They plotted to put him to death. But what was happening was actually God had this idea for Joseph. God had this thing where he wanted Joseph to become someone who could save the world. And so what happened was, as these bad things kept happening, what they were really doing is they were getting him closer and closer and closer to being that person that God wanted him to be. So the first one, his brothers plotted to put him to death. But Reuben, the oldest, he heard this, and he rescued him out of their hands. He said, let us not take his life. So what ends up happening is they kind of change around their plans a little bit, and they decide instead of killing him that they're going to sell him. And wouldn't that be nice? You don't like your older brother, or you don't like your little brother, the spoiled brat, and we'll just sell him. That's a joke, of course. So they sold him to a caravan that was passing through, and eventually he gets sold into Egypt. And verse 36, I think, is significant. It says, meanwhile, the Midianites sold him to Egypt, to Potiphar, Pharaoh's officer, the captain of the bodyguard. See, that might not seem like a good thing, but what ended up happening was he's getting closer and closer and closer to where he was at the beginning, to being this person that's going to save the world. So he gets sold to Potiphar. And what happens when he's with Potiphar is he's making the right decisions, he's doing the right things, and Potiphar starts to trust him in everything. So there's something called opportunity cost. And what opportunity cost is an economic principle that says that whatever you're doing, there's a cost to that. And the cost is what you could be doing besides that with your money or with your time. And so Joseph knew that the cost of staying in a content life, working for Potiphar, maybe was the fact that he wouldn't be able to accomplish the real thing that God had for him. And I mean, this applies to everything. Actually, if you're watching a television show, the opportunity cost is what you could be doing with that time. And I heard somebody say once that there's a price to everything that you do, and there's also a price to everything that you don't do. And what that price of things that you don't do is missed opportunities. And so Joseph, he knew that God needed him to be in a spot where he could do truly great things for God. And I think in the contentment of living in Potiphar's household, he knew somehow that that wasn't where God had him to be. Something else happened. Potiphar's wife started to notice Joseph, because I'm guessing Joseph was probably a pretty good-looking dude. And so every time he would pass by, she would just look at him and see him, and she was desiring him, and she kept asking him, hey man, let's get together. The man's out of town, let's get together. And he kept saying, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to sin against God. I'm not going to sin against my master. But finally what happens is she catches him in a bad situation, and he runs out of the room, but he leaves his cloak. And because of that, there's proof that he did something wrong, and he ends up getting thrown into jail. Another one of those situations where he's getting hammered, but he's getting closer and closer and closer to where God wants him to be. And maybe that's you with your dream right now. Maybe you're getting hammered. You had this dream, you had this vision to do something great for the Lord, and it's getting hard. You're getting hammered. But it could be like Joseph. You're getting closer and closer and closer to where God wants you to be. And so what happens next is he gets thrown in jail, and he gains the favor. God gives him the favor with the people that's his masters in jail too. And he stays there, and he's actually there for quite a long time. One of my favorite verses of this whole story is Genesis 40:1. It says, and after 2 years. That 2 years was time that Joseph was in jail. But he had to go to jail, because in jail he met the people that were going to introduce him to the most powerful man in the world. Maybe you're in that holding pattern right now. You're in a situation that you don't want to be in, but for some reason God has you there, and it could be so that you meet someone, God's teaching you a lesson or something. Again, thanks for watching the video. Please like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a great deal.